Good afternoon, and once again, I welcome you all to this third session of EFDP. Delivering this session will be Professor Vaishali Thakkar, Professor and Head of Department of Pharmaceutics, Anand Pharmacy College, Anand. The title of our talk is Development of Patient-Friendly Dosage Form, a Need of an Era. Before we proceed on to our session, let me give a brief introduction of ma'am. She is currently working as a professor and PG coordinator of Pharmaceutics Department. She has 20 years of experience in pharmaceutical research, particularly in the area of pharmaceutical sciences. Her area of research is formulation development of novel drug delivery system, vaginal drug delivery system, and pulmonary drug delivery. She has published more than 60 research papers in journals of national and international repute. She did her PhD from Sardar Patel University in the year 2000. Till date, she has mentored over 100 postgraduate students on the research project. Because of her commendable research work, she was bestowed with prestigious award from Indian Pharmaceutical Association and Society of Research and Initiative for Sustainable Technology and Institutions, SRISTI. IPA ACG SciTech Innovation Award in 2016 and Gandhian Technological Innovation Award in 2013 and 14 respectively. She is also recipient of SRISTI BIREC 2016 project grant for innovative idea and project. She has filed 8 patents related to 3D printing, novel packaging, and novel formulations. She has received more than 50 lakhs of grants from various funding agencies like Ujcos, DST, SRISTI BIREC, SOIC, and SSIP. She is a life member of Indian Pharmaceutical Association and Indian Hospital Pharmacy Association. It's a privilege to have you here, ma'am. I request you to please take over the session.
So thank you very much for giving such an elaborative and wonderful introduction. So as we know that the title of today's talk is, we are talking about the, let me share my screen. I think I'm perfectly audible.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So title of my today talk is Development of Patient-Friendly Dosage Form, a Need of Era. Now question is that what was the connection between the design thinking and designing of patient-friendly dosage form? The main reason of choosing this particular title is, if you see the basic concept of design thinking, it is more or less, it is oriented with the user, or it is more or less, it is oriented with the patient. So in this situation, it is very, very important that we need to understand what is the requirement of the patient, because the design thinking process that was initiated and began with the requirement of the patient. So in this presentation, I'm going to talk about some basic fundamentals of design thinking. I'm going to talk about how design thinking principle you can implement in development of pharma products. I'm coming with several case studies. I'm coming with the certain regulatory aspect, how we can incorporate the design thinking concept in a development of the patient-friendly dosage form. Now, before starting my presentation, I would like to say that whatever the things I am presented over here, that was compiled from the various research publication and website, okay? And all the example, whatever put it here, it is a one kind of the guideline. Now, if you want, and this presentation is exclusively for the educational purpose and it is only for the learning purpose. But if you wanted to do any kind of e-learning material or anything, the prior approval and prior permission is required. So kindly make sure before circulating or sending this presentation to anywhere. So this is the roadmap of my presentation. So I would like to discuss about what are the traditional and patient-friendly approach, how we can do the product development, what are the US FDA initiative, how we can design a patient-centric dosage form. I will discuss several case study and how the design thinking principle we can incorporate or we can implement in a development of the dosage form. So first of all, what is the concept of traditional product development approach? Because if we see the history before 19th century, if I'm talking about in the year of 19th century, or I'm talking about the in the year of 1980 to 2000, so during this tenure, whatever the products which is developed by any pharma company, these products are basically a product oriented. Now, what is the meaning of a product oriented? Now, the meaning of product oriented, that means based on the market research, based on the need of the requirement or the need of the company or expertise of the company, and based on these aspects, the product are designed. Now, when you are going for a designing of any product, there will be the generalized protocol. What protocol we are specifically adopted here? That protocol is, we are focusing on pre-formulation. We are doing pre-formulation study, and the main objective of pre-formulation study is we would like to select right drugs. Now, once you do the right selection of excipient and all the other additional component and packaging material, our next focus will be the pharmacokinetic parameter. Okay, and after considering the pharmacokinetic parameter, the next focus will be availability of a facility, and we are focusing on the commercial aspect, whether we can go for the manufacturing and production. So this is the scenario, and this is the flow that we are followed in case of a traditional product development. Now, in this approach, we are not considering the feedback and suggestion of the patient, because whatever the product which is launched by the company, or whatever the product which is prepared by the company, that is purely based upon the requirement of the market and expertise of the company. The company are having expertise in oral solid dosage form, they are having the expertise on cancer. So based on these aspects, they are doing the product development. Okay, so here the feedback of the patient or suggestion of the patient, it is not incorporated during the product development stage. Now here the patient will coming into picture for the feedback or the approval of the product at the stage of a clinical trial. At the stage of clinical trial, what happened? The medicines or your formulations are given to the patient. It is given to the volunteer, and that time they are asking the feedback. So now the things are happen. I can correlate it with this example. Suppose you are going in any hotel. आप किसी होटल में चले जाते हो, okay, and waiter are not asking what is your preference, what is your choice, but he was serving the dish. आपको वो अपनी तरह से कोई भी डिश या फूड की जो आइटम है या डिश है वो आपको सर्व करता है, and after the serving dish he will ask for the feedback or he will ask for the suggestion. So this scenario, it is exactly similar, like we are doing the manufacturing of the product, but at the clinical stage, at the preclinical stage or at the clinical stage, we are asking the feedback. How is the performance of your product? So in a traditional approach, we are just asking that whatever the existing products are here, how we can improve the existing product. So we are not giving any kind of a priority, we are not giving any kind of the choice, and we are not giving any kind of the preference. So this is the method which is adopted in a traditional product development. Now, US FDA, they are emphasized that instead of talking about the what we can improve or how we can change our product, you have to ask what is their requirement, what they are expecting in dosage form, what kind of formulation they wanted to design. So it is about the preference of the product. So here in this case, the process of product developments are little bit different. At the pre-formulation stage, you just bother about the drug. You should not only bother about the excipient, you should also bother about what is the requirement of the patient. What patients are expecting. They are expecting that your dosage form should be elegant, your dosage form should be so and so size, the dosage form should be producing the immediate action. So preference and requirement of the patient, that should be considered at a pre-formulation stage. It should be considered at a very beginning stage or at the initial stage. So if you understand the customer requirement and you understand the patient requirement, you can perfectly define what is the QTP, that is known as the what are the quality standard you are expecting in a targeted product profile. So quality targeted profile, it is not only based on some pharmaceutical criteria like disintegration and dissolution and biopharmaceutical aspect, but you need to incorporate the QTPV standard or specification which is associated with the disease condition of the patient, which is associated with the requirement of the patient. So this is the way we can go with the development of the product. Ultimately what happens, your product will be successful, okay, and the product are preferred by the patient. Okay, so this is the flow chart, or this is the approach that we can adopt in development of the product dosage form via design thinking approach. So I can say that the aged people, they are having the problem of swallowing, so we can give them option of sprinkle capsule. Okay, they are having the problem with the size, you can give the different types of the size. Okay, so this is the way you can give the priority to the thinking process of the patient. So here the scenario is different. When you go to the hotel as a customer, the waiter or the hotel staff, they are asking, they will give you a menu, they will give you a choice. What kind of food would you like to prefer? You want a Chinese food, you want a Italian food. So they are giving the menu, okay, as per your choice, as per your body requirement, as per your societal status or whatever it is. So on that basis, you are selecting the dosage form or you are selecting the dish, okay. And you can ask for the modification also. When you giving the order, you can say that make it little bit spicy, make it little bit salty. So here we are asking the preference. So here design thinking approach, I can say that we are asking the preference or we are asking what is the need of the person in a development of the dosage form. So this is the fundamental difference between the patient-friendly approach and traditional approach. Now, question is that why we should adopt such approach? Okay, why? What is the requirement? But I can say that in 2020, the US FDA, they published the guideline how you can incorporate the patient or the customer feedback in a development and designing of a dosage form. And they published a guideline. So whenever you are going for approval of a US FDA, you need to submit the document which indicated that the patients are preferring so and so criteria, and based on the preference of the patient, we are going to design so and so type of the dosage form. Okay, so now this is the regulatory initiative. Every company has to go with that particular process. So here they are talking about the patient focused dosage form. So guideline of patient focused dosage form, that is published, a final draft guideline, it is published in the year of June 2020. Okay, so before 3 to 4 months this guideline is published. Okay, And the main objective of such guideline, or the main objective of incorporating the patient approach, is they wanted to ensure what is the patient experience with the product, what are their needs, and what are their priorities, and all the approach that will be incorporated in a meaningful manner in a drug development process and regulatory evaluation process. Because whatever the document and whatever the data you are submitting the authority, they will go for the evaluation and they will go for the approval. So before giving approval of any product, they wanted to hear what patients are believing or what patients are preferred for particular dosage form or particular disease condition. So preference of a patient, they wanted to understand, or they wanted to incorporate. So because of that reason, 2012, the US FDA, they will constituted a patient focused drug development committee. Now these committee annually meet with the patient, or they are having a different kind of the committee, and each committee are having the different roles and responsibility, and they will focus all the disease one by one, and systematically they are obtaining the perspective and specific requirement of the disease and what they are expecting from the treatment. So these are the things that they are doing as a part of the approval process or evaluation process. Now, whenever you are developed any product or any dosage form, here not only you are concerned about the feedback of the patient, but you need to ask the family members or caregivers. Okay, whatever the nurses and doctors, they are also supporting the patient for the recovery of a disease, for the treatment. So here the patient, a physician, a doctor, a nurse, caregiver and family member, they can give their perspective regarding the treatment of the dosage form. So here on that perspective, the US FDA can give the approval of the product. Okay, so they are the major stakeholders for the product development. Now I told you the US FDA is introduced the patient in an approval process of very early, but after 2012, the whatever the feedback and whatever the suggestion which is given by the patient, that has to be considered in an entire life cycle of the product development. Okay, so that process become very systematic, that process become very regularized. Okay, so here there are 6 different type of the activity that is to be carried out by the patient during the approval process. So these are the different committee, they were constituted, and each committee are having its own roles and responsibility. Like patient focus group, they are having certain roles and responsibility. The patient advisory committee, they are having the certain roles. Similarly, patient representative program or committee, they are performing the different kind of a role. And here the National Organization of Rare Disease, they are also understanding what is the patient requirement in a rare disease. Okay, similarly the patient engagement group, they are only focusing to the medical devices, they are not giving feedback regarding the biological products and drug products. So they make a very well defined culture or well defined concept in a suggestion or approval of the any product. So here I am suggesting that particular committee, and what is that purpose, why this committee is constituted, what should be the frequency of meeting, that is also mentioned very clearly. It is a yearly basis or need basis, whatever it is. And what will be the scope of this particular committee, what part they will look out in a development of the dosage form. So here I told you there are 6 different committee will be there, I told you that is PRP, that is a patient representative program. So they are only giving the suggestion and feedback related to the disease. They are not going to give any kind of a suggestion or advice related to the biological products and the drug products. Okay. So the main objective of this particular committee is they wanted to collect the patient experience, whatever the patient are feel, whatever the patient suggestion, that should be collected, and it is useful to develop the product, and it is also helpful for the approval process. So with this consideration, in June 2020, they published the separate guideline like patient focus drug development, how the patient perspective you can incorporate in a development of the product. So this guideline is published. I told you this committee, they are working a very systematic way from 2013 to 2017, and they were conducted the various meeting on a yearly basis or monthly basis as per the need, and they are conducted such meeting on a very focused disease. Okay, they are focusing to the breast cancer or lung cancer, and so here the theme of a disease are well defined. So from 2013 to 2017, these meetings are conducted. Okay, so this is the history. The suggestion of a patient, they started to incorporate in the year of 1980. Why? Because HIV and AIDS patient, they are very specialized category of the patient. Their needs and requirements are totally different. So to understand the requirement of HIV patient, they constituted the patient group, and these patient groups, they are giving the suggestion and feedback regarding the performance of the dosage form and the how it is helpful the patient in a treatment, and for that purpose they were constituted the committee. Okay, so systematically the engagement of the patient in a FDA work are systematically increased, and at the end in a 2020 they were published a guideline regarding the patient focused product development. So you cannot surprise that in a QBD, whatever the QBD approach that is suggested for the development of the product, there should be a modification or there should be the extension. So I will discuss what modification and extension are required in a quality by design product development. Now there are several terminology we are using: patient focus or patient centric and user friendly. They all are synonym. Now, what is the fundamental definition of a patient-centric drug product? The first thing is we wanted to identify what is the need of an individual or targeted patient population. We need to understand what is the requirement. Now, these requirements, once you identify, you need to design a dosage form as per the requirement of the population, as per the need of the patient. And once you develop the product, you have to provide a overall benefit and risk profile. आप अगर एंटी कैंसर ड्रग देते हो तो एंटी कैंसर ड्रग्स आर प्रोड्यूसिंग द साइड इफेक्ट, but when you develop a anti-cancer molecules or anti-cancer dosage form, you have to justify even it is harmful, but it is helpful to cure the disease, or it is helpful in a treatment of the cancer. So you need to justify the risk benefit ratio to the targeted population during the treatment duration. That is the most standardized definition for the development of the patient-centric product. Now, when you make a patient-centric product, there are the three important elements. What are the three important elements? Because your product should be accepted by the patient, because ultimately you design a product, you develop a product, but the patients are not agree or patient are not ready to consume the dosage form, it will be useless. So acceptability or adherence, acceptability and adherence, that is important criteria. The safety of a product, your product should be safe, free from any kind of toxic effect. And assess, that means your product should be stable in a normal condition, or there should be a perfect supply chain. Perfect supply chain, that means you make a wonderful product, but because of a complexity and the cost and other reason, the patient cannot get that particular dosage form, so that will be useless. So assess or supply chain, that is also very important whenever you are designing or developing any product. Now, the prime concern is your product should be effective, your product should be economic, and risk benefit ratio should be justified. That is the prime requirement. Okay. Now, I'm just giving the example of how these factors that will be affected to the selection of oral dosage form. If I'm taking the oral dosage form, and under the patient acceptability, what should be the things I have to consider? The first thing is dosage form consideration. Dosage form consideration, that means I should give a flexibility. The person can adjust the dose as per the requirement. Okay, that is important. Dose preparation. Dose preparation, that means whatever the things person has to do before administration of the dose. Like in parenteral preparation, you need to take the syringe and withdraw from the that particular bottle, and you have to fill the solution into the syringe, and then you should administer. So that complexity is very much important. Easy administration, how the product are designed in a such a way, it should be palatable, it should be proper size, and it should be proper quantity. If you are asking to administer that is a 1 gram or 2 gram size of the tablet, 1 gram size of the tablet to the aged people, definitely they will face the problem of swallowability. Similarly, in case of pediatric patient, you are asking to take the bitter medicine, definitely the child will not prefer. So here the patient acceptability, what they can accept, okay, according to the age and according to the disease. So that is very much important. As I told you, safety. In a safety, you need to consider what is the toxicity and adverse reaction. So here, what will be the probable adverse effect, what will be the acute toxicity, what is the chronic toxicity, that thing we have to understand. Okay, so that is very important. And the chances of a misdosing, if any human error will happen, and because of that, what should be the probability of a dose in error? Because ultimately the variation in a dose or variation in a administered dose leads to the adverse reaction, leads to the toxic reaction. So these are the things we need to consider. At the same time, in assays, I told you the stability is very much important. Your product should stable at room temperature. You don't require any specialized storage facility. Supply chain is important. You make a great molecule, but it is not a reach of the any normal people. So whatever the wonderful therapy, whatever the innovative doses form, that will be useless. So supply chain is very much important, and the cost. So these are the things we need to consider for the development of the dosage form. So here I am suggesting a one process flow for the development of the dosage form. Now here, unmet medical need. Unmet medical need, that means what is the desire of the patient? Okay, what is the requirement of the patient with reference to certain disease? Now, if I am talking about the requirement of the patient for particular disease, for particular treatment, there are two factors are important: patient, okay, and the second is disease. Okay, now as per concern with the patient, the age is important, the physiological factor is important, the health condition is important. So these are the things related to the patient that is needed to understand or that is needed to be considered. Similarly, what is the requirement of a disease? What are the stage of disease? You are dealing with the last stage of cancer. So here the requirement is different. Okay, so severity, the stage, multi-comorbidity means person are suffering from diabetes and person are suffering from the heart disease. So person are suffering from a multiple disease condition, that is very, very important. You need to understand the drug-drug interaction. So the certain factors related to the disease that should be considered whenever you are fixing the QTPP, like you are fixing the dose, you are fixing the routes of administration, you are fixing the frequency. So when you fixing the or designing the dosage form, you need to consider the relevant factor related to the disease and related to the patient that should be considered. At the same time, you should also understand the requirement related to the development of the dosage form, because it is not a single factor process. The multiple factors are involved. Okay, so here the routes of administration is important and technology, because if you find a very excellent route like pulmonary route, but you need a specialized technology for manufacturing process. So here the drug delivery technology is important. The property of a API, physicochemical property, efficacy, pre-formulation parameters, everything are coming into picture whenever you are making the dosage form for the any patient. So here there are two kind of factors. The one factor it is related to the patient, and the second factor which is related to the dosage form. Now, as I told you, in an initial stage, जब हम traditional method से product बनाते हैं और product based product बनाते हैं, so in this stage we are asking the preference of the patient, or we are taking the feedback of the patient at the clinical stage or at pharmacovigilance stage. वो सिचुएशन में क्या करते हैं, कंपनी उसकी डिमांड है, उसकी एक्सपर्टाइज है, उसके पास कौन सा टेक्निकल स्टाफ है, और मार्केट रिसर्च के बेसिस पे प्रोडक्ट बना देगा, and then they will reach to the clinical trial, then they will reach to the clinical study. They will ask the preference, or they will ask that this is the product, what kind of improvement you are expecting this particular product. So here the involvement of a patient at the clinical stage and pharmacovigilance stage. Okay, but now we are expecting that, or we should go for the involvement of the patient at the R&D stage, marketing stage, clinical stage. So here the patient has to give their view throughout the development process. So this is the flow chart that we can adopt. Now, I told you QBD is an integral part of the product development process. Many pharmaceutics professors are there, and they must be knowing that QBD is a essential, or now it become a mandatory if you wanted to go for selling of a product into the US. So QBD is a mandatory. Okay. Now, if you talk about the conventional type of a QBD flow charts, okay, it will be started with a QTPP. You have to go with a QTPP, but now we have to think about the extension of a QBD chart. Now, what are the extension? We need an extension that the pre-formulation phase, that is also very, very important, and that will be helpful. What should be the quality target profile? Okay, so drug selection, drug substance selection, that is based on QTPP. Okay, if you wanted to get a faster release, or if you wanted to get the higher bioavailability, you need to select those kind of a salt which are giving a maximum bioavailability. So here the right selection of a drug substance That is the part of pre-formulation study. So these pre-formulation study that should be correlated with the QTPP. So now, so QBD should not be started with a that is QTPP, but it should be started with the pre-formulation. At the same time, when you are deciding what are the quality standard, you need to take the feedback of the all stakeholders. Okay, so what are the main stakeholders? The one is industry, because industry has to look out the technical requirement, they should look out the commercial aspect or viability. The second thing is regulator. Regulator, that means whatever the government agency, what they are expecting. Okay, so that is important. And the what is the requirement of the patient. Okay, so these are the three stakeholders they will involved in a defining of a quality target product profile. Okay, and once you fix the QTPP, you can focus what are the quality attributes, what are the critical quality attributes, then you can identify the critical process parameter, critical material parameter, you can go with a risk assessment, you can go with the identification of design space, and finally you can develop the product as per the ICH 8, 9, 10 guidelines. So there should be the modification. The one paper is also published. You can go to the some Science Direct journal, and they're asking about the extension and modification of QBD flowcharts. Okay. Now I'm going to giving it a little bit more elaboration of this particular state, because here the stakeholders are important. So how stakeholders can give the feedback and suggestion in defining of a QTPP. So here the three stakeholders, the patient is there, manufacturer is there, and the third one is a regulator. Okay, they are the main stakeholders for any product developments. Okay, from manufacturing point of view, the cost, commercial aspect, scale up, automation, these are the things are very much important. Again, the one more thing is it is coming into picture, that is a green technology, because now environmental agency, they become more stringent. So green technology related aspect that is needed to consider. Okay, because it will help to decide what technology, and technology is depend upon what kind of dosage form you are preparing. So manufacturer aspect is very much important. Second important thing is what should be the regulatory aspect, because regulator will expect that whatever excipient, whatever the API you are selected, they are completely safe, they produce a desirable therapeutic effect. So you have to concern about that aspect also. Whatever excipient you are using, it should be approved by FDA. Another important thing is the patient related aspect. And the patient related aspect is patient satisfaction and adherence. If person is satisfied, then and then only the person will take the medicine in a regular basis. So conveniency of a dosage form, self-administration, that is important. So I think when you go for such kind of QTPP, you need to consider the three elements. The first is target product profile. Now target product profile, it is exclusively related to the clinical outcomes. Clinical outcome, that means your product is safe and effective. Okay, that is the clinical aspect. Okay, now these clinical aspects are needed to be refined with reference to the age, and according to the age, the dose requirement and the posology and physiological factors, everything is going to change. So that is important. And certain factors related to the disease. So these factors should be correlated with the clinical outcomes, and these clinical outcomes should be considered in a development of the product. So here, if you wanted to make a perfect product, you have to shift from target product profile to quality target product profile with the consideration of the patient requirement. Okay. So how the clinical outcome or factor related to the patient that you can correlate it with a patient quality target product profile. So like a formulation, you can consider the size because the person is aged, the person is a pediatric patient. So they cannot consume the larger size of the tablet. So you should consider what is the size. So when you are deciding the QTPP, you should consider what is the age requirement of the patient. Okay. What is the dose flexibility? Okay. So these are the things that should be understood when you define the QTP. So now it is a high time we need to fix the QTPP standard, which is patient oriented or which is a patient centric. So I can say that these are the certain QTPP I am suggesting here, like routes of administration. So oral will be more preferable routes. When go for oral, the swallowability and palatability is important. Similarly, in dosage form, you concern about the size. So you have to fix the dimension as per the requirement of the age. Similarly, the strength, okay, because person become aged, the physiological functions or the physiology of body will be altered. Okay, the person they cannot metabolize the drug because the kidney are not functioning with 100% of efficacy. You need to do some adjustment of a dose, and according to the adjustment of a dose, you can design a different strength of the dosage form. Okay, so these are the things that you should consider when you decide a quality target product profile. So I can say that it is a high time to revise and modify the QBD steps. We need to modify or we need to change the QBD steps. Okay. Similarly, you should consider the safety, acceptability, stability. Everything should be considered, and that should be correlated with a product specification. So ultimately, what happened? The patient have a satisfaction with the all aspect. So for your better understanding, ये सब मैंने चीजें बताई आपको theoretical बताई. Now you can say that how it is possible. So I'm discussing a few case study, how we can make the patient friendly dosage form. So here I am focusing on a patient friendly dosage form for the geriatric patient. Okay. Now as a geriatric patient, there are the three requirements because majority of geriatric patients, they have a disease condition like arthritis and spondylitis. So they need a effective management of the pain. And for effective management of the pain, the three important requirements related to the patient, the first is dosing frequency. You can't ask the any aged people or any adult people take a medicine 5 times or 7 times. So frequency, number of doses form, that is important, and adverse reaction. So here this is a one product which is produced by the Korean market, and that is a controlled release formulation of aceclofenac. Okay, and they try to satisfy the three requirement of the patient. The first is dosing the frequency. So they made a sustained release formulation. Now as per the aceclofenac, 100 milligram dose should be taken 2 times in a day. So now by making a control release formulation, they can manage the dose once in a day. So now frequency is reduced. Second important thing is here for effective pain management, we can't say that consume the medicine and wait for 1 hour. The sustained release dose will come out from the tablet and it will start to produce the effect. In that cases, they design a IR dose and SR dose. So once you administered, very immediately the IR portion get dissolved and it will start to give a relief to the patient. So here effective pain management is possible. Another important issue is aceclofenac. It has a side effect. It may cause the gastric ulceration for a longer use. So here, to minimize that probability, they come with a certain solution. The first solution is that they try to reduce the frequency and number. That is the one thing. Another important thing is they will incorporate the alkalinizing substance. Alkalinizing substance, that means they incorporate the sodium bicarbonate, a small quantity of a sodium bicarbonate or alkali substance in a preparation of the tablet. So when you give the medicine to the patient, the environment of the stomach will be alkaline. So chances of causing the ulceration and an acidity, everything can be overcome. Okay. So this is the way they try to satisfy it. What is the requirement of the patient? So here I am talking about the development of a product for the elder people. इट इज अ होलिस्टिक अप्रोच. अभी आपने बोला ये डोजेस फॉर्म देख लिया, फ्रीक्वेंसी देख ली, ये देख लिया, वो देख लिया, थिंग्स विल बी ओवर. नो, you need to think about their perspective. Okay, the thinking process are varies from one region to another region. Whatever the thinking process of Asian people, they might be that the European people are thinking in a different. So here it is a holistic approach. Okay, so these are the few things you need to consider, like easy to swallow, easy to handle. Okay, if you make a very wonderful system but the patient cannot be handle the doses form, that will be useless. Okay, you make a wonderful doses form but the person cannot hold or person cannot easily administer, so that could not be useful. So here packaging requirement, labeling requirement, everything is important. So it is a holistic approach. Okay, so that is important. Now second case study, I am talking about the pediatric patient. Now this HIV drug which is used in treatment of the HIV. Now when you make a dosage form for the pediatric patient, the palatability, swallowability, that is important. So taste and smell and texture is important. Another important thing is the patients are very much sensitive to unpleasant taste. So that is very much important. So to overcome this requirement or that disadvantage, they are making the pellets. Now these pellets and granules, they are giving the flexibility. So they can adjust the dose of the patient. Okay, another important thing is bitterness is a problem. So here they prepare granules with a phase conservation technique and they prepare a microcapsules. Now these microcapsules are consist of a core part which containing the drug, and the drug is coated with a polymer. So it is coated with a polymer. So what happened? The bitterness of a product can be avoided. Okay, so we can make a product which should not produce any bitter effect. Okay, so here the needs of the pediatric patients are considered over here in designing of the product. Now, 1 minute.
Hi, my name is Abigail and I am a nurse. I am here to demonstrate to you how to administer lopinavir ritonavir pellets. Pellets are packaged in a capsule and are administered as prescribed by the doctor. Take a clean tablespoon and set it on a plate or on a dish. You can also use a small container or a cup. Put a little food on the spoon. The food should either be semi-solid or liquid, such as porridge, yogurt, milk, water, tea, or other foods available to you. Remove the number of capsules prescribed by your doctor and place them on a clean surface. Take a capsule, hold it vertically, then twist it in opposite directions while pulling gently to open it.
Yes, Vijay,
Using
you can start.
semi-solid foods, pour the required amount of pour some more food onto the spoon to cover the pellets. Pour the pellets onto a plate. Add a small amount of the liquid on top of the pellets and try to dissolve. Do not let the pellets stay for long in the liquid, as it will become sticky and develop a bad taste. Feed the baby with the food or liquid containing the pellets immediately. Follow up with more food or liquid to ensure that they swallow all the pellets. Repeat until all the capsules are finished. Finally, check the child's mouth to ensure that no pellets remain. It is advisable not to pour large quantities of pellets. Pour about 1 or 2 capsules at a time. Make sure that all pellets are on the spoon and that no pellets fall off. For babies who are being breastfed exclusively, place a little expressed breast milk onto a spoon. Pour a small amount of the pellets on the spoon. Add a little breast milk on top of the pellets, but do not mix or dissolve. Pour the pellets into the baby's mouth and follow up with more breast milk to ensure that the baby swallows all the pellets. Repeat this until all pellets are finished. For all caregivers, make sure you give the pellets with food or beverage that the child prefers to take and will swallow without chewing. If the child is resistant or vomiting, try to administer fewer pellets at a time. Ensure no pellets remain in the mouth, as it will develop an unpleasant taste after a short time. Capsules must be opened to administer pellets. They should not be swallowed.
So you can understand how the things to be prepared for the pediatric patient. So that is for HIV patient. So how they can make a patient friendly dosage form. So designing of a patient dosage form, you need to consider the age of the patient, physiology, dosage regimen, environmental factors, and what is the characteristic and behavior of a caregivers. Okay, so all the things are coming into picture when you make a pediatric dosage form. So that is also important. Now one more case study I am discussing for the nasal delivery. Generally, nasal delivery system, it is suitable for the protein and peptide molecules, because we cannot go for the oral administrations, because vaccines and protein peptides, you should go for the parenteral administration. Now, every time the parenteral delivery is not possible, so nasal delivery is an alternative of a parenteral routes. So nasal drug delivery systems are developed for the immunization of various infectious diseases like influenza or Ebola. Now COVID also, because definitely the vaccine will come, but it is given through the nasal route. So here just check out this video and how this nasal delivery can be done.
LNA Bad Nasal is the safe and painless way to deliver medications directly to your patient's bloodstream without an intravenous line. To use the Bad Nasal, fill the syringe with the proper volume of medication and connect the atomizer. Place the Bad Nasal gently but firmly against the nasal opening and briskly compress the syringe plunger. The medication exits the tip of the Bad Nasal as a fine atomized mist, resulting in broad coverage of the nasal mucosa with a thin layer of drug. Medication rapidly absorbs across the mucous membrane into the bloodstream, as well as directly into the cerebral spinal fluid of the brain, avoiding first-pass metabolism. This achieves medication levels comparable to injections. Once in the bloodstream, the medication circulates throughout the body. In the central nervous system, it enters the brain and binds to neuroreceptors, exerting the desired clinical effect and leading to resolution and improvement in the patient's symptoms. Bad nasal allows for exact dosing, is titratable to effect, and can atomize in any position.
So here the nasal delivery system basically designed. We wanted to avoid the first pass metabolism. Your drugs are directly reaching to the systematic circulation, so you are getting the advantage from technical point of view or patient point of view. At the same time, the absorption, it is directly happen, so you can target your medicine at the site of the brain. So nowadays various drug delivery systems are available through which you can, through the nasal route, you can target your medicine at the site of the brain. Okay, so this is the things we can consider for the requirement of the dosage form. So here the API is also very much important because you deal with the protein and peptide molecules. So protein and peptide molecules cannot be given through the oral route. So you need to think about the nasal. So how API can influence your mode of delivery, because your product design, it's depend upon the characteristic of your API. Okay, so these are the things that we have to understand, and accordingly we have to develop the dosage form. So now, based on case study, I wanted to say that the design thinking is the integral part of patient-friendly dosage form, development of patient-friendly dosage form, because design thinking, it is a one of the unique tool, it is a one of the unique approach through which you can make a patient-friendly dosage form in a more effective manner. Because nowadays the patient care are not restricted to the four wall of hospital, because now so many wearable medical devices and wearable devices are available. So continuous monitoring and treatment is possible. So now it is time to implement the design thinking approach in the development of the patient friendly dosage form. Now, why design thinking is more beneficial? Because it is helpful to understand what is the requirement of the patient. Another important thing is, in a design thinking process, whatever the probable solution आप सोचते हो as per the need of the patient, you are finding some technology, you are finding some solution. Now these solutions are tested via developing the prototype. Now, once you develop a prototype, you are also taking the feedback, and finally you are developing your product. So at each and every stage, you are working with the patient. Okay, so that is a very, very important for the development of the any dosage form. So design thinking, it is a very much important step. Okay, so we have to judge the idea before real implementation, because जब आप prototype बनाते हो या product बनाते हो, तो आप वो same condition simulate करते हो, and when you create the same condition or simulate, you try to identify what is the error in your design, what is the error in your technology, what is the error in your process. So you have a chance to improve and modify your products. So that is the best part of the design thinking process. So here, this part is already discussed by yesterday's speaker, and they talk about what are the process and what are the basic fundamentals of design thinking process. I am discussing this step with reference to the pharmaceutical product. So whenever you decide so and so dosage form are wanted to develop and so product we wanted to launch, what is the important is you have to understand the need of a market, what are the availability of a alternative dosage form. अगर आप HIV के लिए कोई pellets बना रहे हो, तो you have to investigate what are the other company they are making the same kind of product, because ultimately you should give the competition. Okay, so market requirement, then you should understand what is the need of the patient. You should also do the analysis. The analysis, it should be done at every stage, for commercial point of view and patient point of view, the regulatory requirement point of view. So task force, they will do the complete analysis and viability of the project. Your project will be viable or not. So such kind of analysis is also done. On the basis of a patient requirement, viability, and market feedback, you have to work out which problem you wanted to address or you wanted to solve. So this problem you have to identify. Now, once you identify the problem, the next part is you should find out the different solution. जो भी आपको प्रॉब्लम्स मिला है या जो भी चीज पेशेंट एक्सपेक्ट करता है आपके डोजेस फॉर्म में, you need to find out the various solutions. So what are the different ideas that should be applied to solve particular problem? Now the best part of this design thinking process is that you can develop various innovative solutions. While in a regular product development process, the probability of developing the innovative solutions are very, very less. Okay. So here, the design thinking process, I can say that it is an important tool for the critical thinking or important tool for the innovative solution. You can come with some innovative solution and they can make the drastic change, okay, in a treatment or the needs of the patient. So that should be the possible. Okay, same way you need to make a prototype. Now prototype could be anything. अब आप बोलोगे फार्मेसी में कहाँ से प्रोटोटाइप बनेगा मैडम, थोड़ा हम टेबलेट बना के फिर से वो करेंगे. Yes, that is possible because nowadays 3D printing technologies are available. So with the help of 3D printing technology, you can make a various prototype and you can ask the feedback. अब आप बोलोगे भाई मेडिसिन बना के हम पेशेंट को खिला दे क्या? No, you can make a dummy tablet with a different size, different color. You can ask the preference. Okay, so this is the way you systematically evaluate your prototype. You can take the feedback and finally you come with a QTPP, benchmark assessment. That means you should come with a specification. Okay, now we are going to launch or we are going to prepare so and so product, and these are the quality standard and these are the quality target product profile. So this is the way we can work out. So journey of a design thinking, that is classified into 3 stages. The first stage is a research. Second stage is we have to solve the problem. We have to resolve the problem. So that is the second step. And the third step is whatever the prototype and products you are prepared, that product should be refined. Okay. And finally, you are coming with a very nice product quality standard that should be preferred by the patient. So this is the design thinking journey. Okay. So here, 1 minute. So this is a one nice video.
design thinking के process follow करते हैं.
You can understand what is the design thinking.
जो डिजाइनर डिजाइन थिंकिंग के प्रोसेस फॉलो करते हैं, उनकी सैलरी में अचानक से 60% से ज्यादा हाइक देखा गया. बड़ी बड़ी कंपनी जैसे कि जियो, अमेज़न, फेसबुक, एडोबे, ये क्या कर रही है, ये डिजाइन थिंकिंग समझने वाले और उसे प्रोसेस में इंप्लीमेंट करने वाले डिजाइनर को ज्यादा प्रेफरेंस दे रही है. मैंने कम्युनिटी में पूछा था कि डिजाइन थिंकिंग के बारे में आप कितना जानते हैं, पर मुझे एक भी सही जवाब नहीं मिला. जब किसी कंपनी को कोई प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करना होता है तो बहुत सारे प्रोसेसेस को फॉलो किया जाता है, पर डिजाइन थिंकिंग का प्रोसेस इससे काफी अलग काम करता है. देखिए, इससे बेटर कि कोई प्रोडक्ट बनाया जाए और फिर बताया जाए कि वो यूजर को कैसे हेल्प कर सकता है। डिजाइन थिंकिंग फोकस करता है कि पहले यूजर की प्रॉब्लम को समझो, यूजर की प्रॉब्लम यानी ह्यूमन सेंटर्ड प्रॉब्लम को समझो, उसके बाद उसका सॉल्यूशन प्रोवाइड करो। यहाँ पे प्रॉब्लम कह रहा हूँ तो वो सिर्फ वेब रिलेटेड या मोबाइल रिलेटेड ही नहीं होता, वो किसी भी तरह की प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है। जैसे कि मुंबई में बहुत सारी गाड़ियां हैं तो कार पार्किंग का इशू है, तो ये कैसे हम डिजाइन थिंकिंग के थ्रू सॉल्व करेंगे। आजकल कोरोना वायरस के चलते हॉस्पिटल में वेंटिलेटर्स की काफी कमी है, तो हम कैसे ठीक कर सकते हैं। या किसी भी गांव के गवर्नमेंट स्कूल में बच्चों को एक अच्छा हेल्दी फूड हम कैसे प्रोवाइड कर सकते हैं डिजाइन थिंकिंग के थ्रू। तो इस तरह के ऑर्गेनाइजेशनल और कल्चरल प्रॉब्लम्स को भी डिजाइन थिंकिंग के थ्रू सॉल्व किया जा सकता है। अब डिजाइन थिंकिंग में अलग अलग प्रोसेस आते हैं जो मैं आपको एग्जांपल के साथ समझाने की कोशिश करता हूँ। जब पता चला कि वेस्ट बंगाल के किसी छोटे से गांव में लोग बहुत बीमार पड़ रहे हैं क्योंकि उनको साफ पानी नहीं मिल रहा है पीने के लिए, और उनको रोज 2 किलोमीटर चल के पीने के पानी के लिए कुएं तक जाना होता था, जिसका पानी काफी गंदा होता था। जब वहां की गवर्नमेंट को ये पता चला तो उन्होंने गांव के आधे किलोमीटर के अंदर साफ पानी का टैंकर लगा दिया, जहाँ से लोग 5 रुपए में 10 लीटर तक पानी खरीद कर इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। तो अब क्या हुआ, गवर्नमेंट ने अभी भी देखा कि टैंकर लगाने के बावजूद लोग साफ पानी का इस्तेमाल नहीं कर रहे। क्यों भाई? क्योंकि देखिए इसमें बहुत सारे रीजन हो सकते हैं। यहाँ काम आता है हमारा डिजाइन थिंकिंग का सबसे पहला प्रोसेस एम्पैथी, यानी एम्पैथाइज करना, मतलब लोगों के प्रॉब्लम को समझना जिनके लिए आप वो प्रोडक्ट बना रहे हो, बट वहाँ की गवर्नमेंट ने ये नहीं किया। एम्पैथी का मतलब है इंटरव्यू लेना, बहुत सारी जानकारी कलेक्ट करना, यानी आप यूजर इंटरव्यू ले सकते हो, यानी गाँव वालों से इंटरव्यू लेना, उनसे बातचीत करना, या फिर इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट करना, उनकी सारी डिटेल्स लेना और यूजर पर्सोना क्रिएट करना, जैसे कि वहाँ पर रहने वाले लोगों की उम्र क्या है, फैमिली मेंबर कितने हैं, उनकी इनकम क्या है, बच्चे कितने हैं घर में। क्या हमें ये पता चलेगा कि हम किसके लिए जो है प्रोडक्ट बना रहे हैं और उनके एग्जैक्टली प्रॉब्लम क्या है। ये सारी चीजें एम्पैथी में आती है जो वहाँ की गवर्नमेंट ने नहीं किया। अब ये सारी जानकारी मिलने के बाद आप उसको प्रॉपरली अच्छी तरीके से डिफाइन करते हो, यानी मेंशन करते हो, जो कि डिजाइन थिंकिंग का सेकंड प्रोसेस है। डिफाइन का प्रोसेस क्या होता है? इस प्रोसेस में आप ये देखते हो कि आपने एम्पैथाइज के स्टेप में जो जो भी देखा उसको आप प्रॉपरली लिखोगे। इससे आपको ये पता चल जाता है कि यूजर को एग्जैक्टली क्या चाहिए, उनके चैलेंजेस क्या है, यानी एम्पैथाइज किए गए सारे प्रोसेस में से कौन सी बातें आपके काम की है और आप उसी पर जो है काम करोगे। अब इस केस में क्या हुआ, गवर्नमेंट ने देखा कि एग्जैक्टली क्या प्रॉब्लम है। पता चला कि जहाँ पर टैंकर लगाया गया है वो रास्ता काफी ऊबड़ खाबड़ है, यानी चलने में या फिर पानी लेकर जाने में बहुत प्रॉब्लम होती है गाँव वालों को। दूसरा प्रॉब्लम ये था कि घर में ज्यादातर जो जेंट्स या पुरुष है वो काम पर चले जाते हैं, तो औरतों को ही पानी लाना पड़ता था, तो 10 लीटर का कैन वो उठाकर नहीं ला सकते क्योंकि वो बहुत ज्यादा हैवी होता था। तीसरा प्रॉब्लम ये था उनकी इनकम इतनी नहीं होती थी कि वो 5 रुपए पानी पर स्पेंड करें। चौथा प्रॉब्लम ये था कि उनको दिन में 10 लीटर पानी की जरूरत नहीं होती थी, तो वो इतना पैसा क्यों देते। देखिए ये सारी बातें बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट थी जो गवर्नमेंट को एम्पैथाइज करना था प्रोडक्ट बनाने से पहले। अब गवर्नमेंट को उनसे बात करने के बाद पता चल गया कि वो इस प्रॉब्लम को कैसे सॉल्व कर सकते हैं। तो यहाँ पे हमने डिस्कस किया एम्पैथी के बाद डिफाइन प्रोसेस। अब तीसरा प्रोसेस है आइडिएट का, यानी जो भी इंफॉर्मेशन आपको एम्पैथाइज करके डिफाइन किया उससे आप सॉल्यूशन कैसे बनाओगे। नेपाल में जब विंटर के बाद ज्यादा सर्दियां पड़ती है तो उस दौरान बोर्न हुए बच्चों को इंक्यूबेटर में रखा जाता है ताकि वो हाइपरथर्मिया जैसी बीमारी से मर न जाए, पर बहुत सारे बच्चे मर जाते हैं। और सर्दियों में दूर दराज में रहने वाले लोग, यानी 30 से 30 किलोमीटर दूर गांव में रहने वाले लोग अपने बच्चों को हॉस्पिटल तक नहीं ला सकते क्योंकि रास्ते बहुत खराब होते हैं, बर्फबारी से रास्ते बंद हो जाते हैं, जिसके वजह से बहुत सारे बच्चे बहुत होते ही मर जाते हैं। जब स्टैनफोर्ड डिजाइन स्कूल ने इसका सॉल्यूशन ढूंढना शुरू किया तो उन्होंने सबसे पहले एम्पैथाइज प्रोसेस के थ्रू हॉस्पिटल के डॉक्टर्स, नर्सेस, स्टाफ के साथ और गांव वालों से भी इंटरव्यू किया, उनसे इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट किया। उसके बाद डिफाइन किया कि एग्जैक्टली क्या प्रॉब्लम है और फिर आइडिया प्रोसेस के थ्रू नए नए आइडियाज सोचे, जैसे कि ऐसा इंक्यूबेटर बना जाए जिसे आप गांव वालों को दे सकते हो ताकि वो अपने घर पर रख सके। ऐसा ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग भी हुआ कि इंक्यूबेटर हल्का होना चाहिए ताकि आराम से घर की महिलाएं उसे इस्तेमाल कर सके। इंक्यूबेटर बिना बिजली के भी चले क्योंकि वहां पर सर्दियों में बहुत ज्यादा बिजली आती है जाती है। बहुत सारे आइडियाज के बारे में सोचा गया, फिर डिसाइड किया गया कि पोर्टेबल इंक्यूबेटर बनाया जाए जो बहुत ज्यादा बड़ा ना हो, हैंडी हो और बच्चे उसमें सेफ रह सके। तो इसी तरह के अलग अलग आइडियाज को सुनना, उस पर काम करना, उसका एडवांटेजेस, उसके डिसएडवांटेजेस देखना, इस प्रोसेस को डिजाइन थिंकिंग का आइडिया प्रोसेस करते हैं। एक बार आइडिया मिल गया तो उसका प्रोटोटाइप बनाया जाता है, जो है डिजाइन थिंकिंग का चौथा प्रोसेस, प्रोटोटाइप। इसमें डिसाइड होता है कि वो प्रोडक्ट दिखाई कैसे देगा, उसे यूज कैसे कर सकते हैं, वो कितना हैंडी होगा, कितना सस्ता होगा, कितना सेफ होगा, उसमें किस तरह के मटेरियल लगेंगे। डिजाइन आप पेपर पे भी बना सकते हो या बोर्ड पे भी बना सकते हो, या सारी डिस्कशन के बाद जो भी आप मटेरियल यूज कर सकते हो उससे आप कर सकते हो। ये एक्चुअली फाइनल प्रोडक्ट नहीं होता, उस प्रोडक्ट को रूप दिया जाता है कि वो कैसे दिखेगा और कैसे काम करेगा। प्रोटोटाइप के बाद आता है टेस्ट प्रोसेस। टेस्ट प्रोसेस में लोगों को उस प्रोडक्ट को इस्तेमाल करने के लिए कहा जाता है और उनसे फीडबैक भी लेते हैं। वो प्रोडक्ट कैसा है, उसमें क्या क्या चेंजेस कर सकते हैं, वो कितना कंफर्टेबल है, किसी भी सिचुएशन में वो कैसे चलेगा, ये सारी रियल सिचुएशन में लोगों को देखकर उनसे फीडबैक लिया जाता है। टेस्टिंग में बताए गए सारे चेंजेस को ध्यान में रखकर फाइनल प्रोडक्ट को बनाया जाता है। और स्टैनफोर्ड कॉलेज ने जो प्रोडक्ट बनाया था वो इस प्रकार का था, एक छोटा सा टाइनी हीटेड स्लीपिंग बैग जिनको उन्होंने नाम दिया एम्ब्रेस, जो काफी पॉपुलर हुआ और बहुत सारे देशों में इस एम्ब्रेस स्लीपिंग बैग को इस्तेमाल किया जा रहा है। तो दोस्तों आपने देखा कि डिजाइन थिंकिंग के प्रोसेस में पहले आपने एम्फसाइज किया यानी प्रॉब्लम को समझा, उसके बाद उसे डिफाइन किया यानी प्रॉब्लम को अच्छे तरीके से जाना, उसके बाद आइडिएट किया यानी आइडियाज बनाए, उस सारी इन्फॉर्मेशन को लेकर एक अच्छा सा आइडिया बनाया, उसके बाद उस आइडिया को आपने प्रोटोटाइप में कन्वर्ट किया, जो एक डमी प्रोडक्ट बनाया कोई मटेरियल लेकर, उसके बाद उसको टेस्ट करने के लिए एक रियल यूजर को दिया ताकि आप उसे फीडबैक ले सके और फाइनल प्रोडक्ट बना सके। तो दोस्तों डिजाइन थिंकिंग का प्रोसेस काफी लंबा होता है, बट ये बहुत सटीक होता है और बहुत अच्छा सा काम करता है, इसीलिए डिजाइन थिंकर की आजकल काफी ज्यादा डिमांड है। तो दोस्तों आई होप आपको डिजाइन थिंकिंग का प्रोसेस पूरा समझ में आ गया। अगर आपको ये वीडियो अच्छा लगा है तो प्लीज इसे अपने दोस्तों के साथ शेयर करें।
So now you can understand how the things are going on and what are the process flow of the design thinking. Now I'm going to talk about how you can implement the same thing, because this is the one example that is related with one medical devices. Okay, they try to find out the alternate of incubator, but now how it is helpful in the development of patient friendly dosage form. So here this is the process. Initially you have to take the input from the multidisciplinary community. Multidisciplinary community, that means you should take the feedback from the stakeholders like caregivers, regulators, or your department. Now you come to know कि भाई अभी मार्केटिंग वाला और मैन्युफैक्चरिंग वाला और पैकेजिंग वाला सबको क्यों हम इस प्रोसेस में इन्वॉल्व करें? No, it should not be like that, because the packaging, then clinical aspect, marketing aspect, that is very, very important. If time will permit, I will discuss example how packaging and marketing will affect the adherence and preference of the dosage form. So you don't have to listen only the manufacturer or production department and market department. You need to understand, or you need to listen each and every department. If similarly you take a feedback from the other discipline also, like epidemiologist, psychologist, industrial designer, or any digital expert. So they have a different perspective. So it is a multidisciplinary approach. So you need to take a feedback from each and every stakeholders. You need to prepare a questionnaire, and you have to collect the data. Okay, and you ask them to fill that questionnaire. You can do the interview. You can take the feedback from the that particular from Facebook and like that. You can use social media also. That is the way you can collect the information. Now once you collect the large number of data set like feedback, so now it is a very bigger picture. Now these bigger picture you have to narrow down and you have to translate into the meaningful information. So you need to categorize all the information and feedback, and you have to stratify the data. Stratify the data, that means you have to categorize the data. You should do the clustering of a data. Some aspect related to the dosage form, some aspect related to the dosage regimen, some aspect related to the frequency, some aspect related to the appearance. You need to categorize all the information. Then you should bring all the stakeholders, okay, and discuss the problem openly. These are the problem, and write down the what are the issue. Now these issue, whatever issue, that should be categorized very systematically, and you have to identify which issue are more critical and which issue are less critical, you need to do the categorization. Now, after that, you should categorize the problem, you should identify the problem, you should do the brainstorming with your team. Okay, you have to talk with the formulation scientist, you should talk with the QA people, production scientists. Everyone has to sit on a single table and do the brainstorming and find out the possible solution. Okay, so here the main focus is the generation of idea, how we can solve the problem. Now, once the idea is generated, you should make a framework, you should make a steps, you should make a process, how this idea can be implemented from idea to the prototypes. Okay, so framework of concept, that is very important. Now, when your concept is clear, you have to focus on prototype. Now, you should build a prototype based on generated idea. आपके पास जो भी आइडिया है उसके बेसिस पे आपको प्रोटोटाइप बनाना है. Now, your prototype you can do with a 3D printing, or you can do the simulation based software. So many simulation based softwares are also available, and you can also work with a very fragile type of prototype. It could be a piece of paper or anything. Okay, because we wanted to simulate the condition. Now, once you prepare a prototype, you can focus on the testing, and you have to ask the feedback of a user. Okay, this is the probable design of your dosage form. What is your suggestion? So you have to take the feedback. If they are not satisfied with a certain characteristic, again you start to work from the ideation stage. So here design thinking is a iterative process, or we can say that it is a non-linear process. It should not like that कि पहले idea आया, फिर आपने problem ढूंढा, फिर आपने prototype बनाया. Many times it happen when you reach to the final prototype stage, again you have to work out at the ideation stage. Okay, so it is a linear process and it is a continuous process. I think this case study are discussed by so many experts yesterday, and this is the classical example of a patient-friendly dosage form.
Once upon a time, an industrial designer named Doug Dietz stood beaming with pride as he visited a hospital to admire his brand new high-tech MRI machine. But when the first patient, a little girl, saw the machine, she burst into tears. She didn't see a shiny new machine that could help her. She saw a terrifying monster, and she knew she'd have to go inside it and be very still, which for a very frightened little girl would be very hard to do without taking medicine to make her sleep. Doug knew his technology would be great at diagnosing a lot of bad things inside people that needed to be fixed, but he now realized the little girl's experience would not be great at all. To her, his creation was loud and scary. He needed to figure out how he could help her and to make her fear go away. So he brought together a team of experts, educators, pediatricians, and designers to study how MRI machines trigger anxiety in young patients. They watched children play and noticed them use their imaginations to transform everyday objects into extraordinary things. They wondered, in the hospital, instead of a fearful experience, could children imagine they were on a wonderful adventure? After a lot of brainstorming, the team worked together to reveal a newly designed MRI at a children's hospital. One that turned the MRI procedure into a grand space adventure. Now, the loud noises of a spaceship going into hyperdrive, and the headsets they wear help them communicate with ground control while on their space voyage. Instead of undergoing a medical procedure, they are on an exciting mission to outer space. The number of children needing sedation has plummeted, and more scans can be completed each day. After hearing a patient ask her mom when she could come back for her next MRI, Doug knew human-centered design had made this corner of the world a much better place. And for thousands of children who have needed an MRI scan over the years since then. They lived happily ever after.
So now you can understand how the journey become, instead of a horrible memory to the child is asking, when will go for the next time MRI. So you can understand what is the magic of design thinking. One more example is patient-friendly insulin injection, because when the person are suffering from the insulin, person are suffering from the diabetes and type 1 patient, they need to administer the insulin every day. So here you can administer the insulin with a different technique. You can go with a syringe and vial technique. Now these syringe and vial techniques that are having a certain disadvantage, and that disadvantage that should be overcome by the patient-friendly human insulin injection pen. So I am talking about what are the problem of conventional type of insulin syringe and vial. The first thing is you have to read the mark on a barrel. So probably aged people cannot read the mark. That is the first problem, and that leads to the inaccuracy in a dose. So that is the thing. Another important thing is you required a skill. I will show the video where you need a skill to administer the insulin with a syringe and vial. Another important thing is when person are traveling, it will be difficult to keep a syringe and needle and everything. The person is not comfortable. And another important thing is person has to record and remember what is the last dose. So there is no provision of recording of last dose. So these are the problem that was presented by the diabetic patient. So Eli Lilly and so many other companies, they realize the problem of a patient and they come with an innovative solution. Just see this video so you can understand
For many adults and children,
what is the
using
problem
an
of
insulin syringe is a
this
necessary daily routine. To a first
patient.
timer, it can be a scary undertaking, but with some practice and knowledge of basic facts and safety requirements, it can be a simple and easy process. It is important you give the right type of insulin and the right amount of insulin. Most people are on more than one type of insulin. Make sure you have the correct vial of insulin. Very important to always use a new syringe for each dose. An insulin syringe can come in 3 different sizes that each hold different amounts of insulin. Make sure you understand the markings on your syringes so you do not give the wrong amount of insulin. You will need an insulin syringe, insulin, an alcohol pad, and a Sharps container. Wash your hands with soap and water thoroughly. Next, use the alcohol pad to clean the rubber stopper on the insulin vial. Then, remove the orange cap from the insulin syringe. Pull back the syringe plunger until the top edge of the plunger lines up with the correct number of insulin units you will give. The lines on the syringe measure the insulin units. Now, push the needle through the rubber stopper of the insulin vial. Then push the plunger down, forcing air into the vial. Leave the needle in the vial. Turn the vial and syringe upside down and hold together in one hand at eye level. Using the other hand, pull plunger down to the unit line slightly beyond the dose of insulin you will give. This pulls insulin into the syringe. Next, check the syringe for air bubbles. Small bubbles are not dangerous, but take up space, preventing you from getting your full insulin dose. If any are present, push the plunger all the way up, pushing the insulin back into the vial. Pull the plunger back down to the correct amount of insulin in syringe. This process may have to be repeated 2 or 3 times to remove all the air bubbles. Take the needle out of the vial. You are now ready to give the insulin. Taking the time to learn these important steps is necessary, but with routine practice, you will gain confidence.
So they told definitely you knew how to do the practice. It's you can understand you to be concerned about the bubble and depth and size and accurate dosing. You can understand. So now this problem is solved with this particular insulin.
Insulin, mix it before every injection. If you're about to use a brand new pen fill cartridge, mix the insulin before you insert the cartridge into the pen. Roll the cartridge back and forth between your palms 10 times. Then move it up and down 10 times. Check to ensure that the insulin is uniformly white and cloudy. If not, repeat the previous 2 steps. To prepare NovoPen 4 with a new pen fill cartridge, first pull off the pen cap and twist the pen apart. If the piston rod is sticking out, push it all the way back in. Put the cartridge into the cartridge holder. The color-coded cap goes in first. This and accurate dosing.
So I'm not going to detail. So this is the operation that you should perform.
Then gradually remove.
Now I wanted to say, okay, what was the reason why they develop a medical device? Because they did the interview with the patient who are taking the syringe-based insulin. The first thing is because of the appearance and because of the thin syringe, they are not comfortable to hold. So therefore, they make a pen-like device which having a proper thickness, so person can hold. Okay, that is the one thing. Another important thing is the device are make so friendly, just like a pen. So person can put it into the pocket. So it is a totally travel-friendly dosage form. Another important thing is the appearance like a pen. So it produces a psychological effect in the mind of the patient. Instead of any kind of medical treatment, it is a status or it is a symbol of status. So this is the way they work out, and the patient will be benefited with the such kind of novel design, and the journey of diabetes treatment become pleasant. So here it is easy to handle because the thickness and everything is very nice. Another important thing is they are using a very thin needle, which is not producing that much pain. Accuracy and dose. You don't have to withdraw the insulin every time. It is a pre-filled syringe. So simply you have to inject. The dose adjustment is very easy. Just turning the dial, you can fix the dose. Chances of variation in dose, everything can be minimized. Here memory features are also there. So this insulin pen can be connected with your mobile or any kind of wearable gadgets. You can come to know what should be the dose are taken in the last time. So the patient will be comfortable with such kind of a device. So now this is a very classical example how this design thinking will be helpful. Similarly, design thinking principle, it is also become or it may be helpful for development of patient-friendly dosage form. Or we can say that it is also helpful to develop personalized medicine, because based on the genetic information, we can design the product as per the individual need. As I told you, one patient is give a very good response with a low dose, but some patient cannot be give the response because variation in a various kind of enzyme because of genetic reason. So variability in a therapeutic response that should be minimized by the patient-centric approach. Okay, so that is also possible. So now we don't have to only focus on patient-centric dosage form, but now we have to think about the personalized medicine also. Now, so last I'm concluding my session with a very positive remarks or very positive things, because in this crisis, because whenever any crisis will be happen, there will be always opportunity, and there will be the always possibility of the change. So just listen this video. It will be motivational video.
फैक्ट नंबर 1, पिछले 2 महीनों में 10,000 करोड़ की एक नई इंडस्ट्री इंडिया में स्टार्ट हुई। कैसे? एक सवाल, हम क्या कर सकते हैं?
The textile industry had to close down because of coronavirus. But even during these tough times, they found an opportunity.
फैक्ट्रीज कंप्लीटली बंद रखने से अच्छा है पीपी किस बनाते हैं। एक प्राइवेट कंपनी ने स्टार्ट किया, फिर एक और, and today India makes 4.5 lakh PPE kits every single day.
In these 2 months, India became the second largest PPE manufacturer in the world. This new industry will be worth $60 billion by 2025.
I mean, wow.
All of this happened in less than 60 days.
लगता है impossible, लेकिन सच। फैक्ट नंबर 2,
This is the Mahua flower from Chhattisgarh. इससे देसी दारू बनती है। इस फ्लावर पे क्राइसिस से क्या लेना देना? The tribal women in Chhattisgarh use this flower to brew alcohol, which forms the base for hand sanitizer. When India was scrambling to get enough supplies of hand sanitizer, these women did not give up.
they asked, हम क्या कर सकते हैं? I mean, just look at their creativity. They understood the real meaning of vocal for local. और एक आदिवासी solution है वहाँ की लोगों की जान पर। ये लगता impossible है, लेकिन सच। फैक्ट नंबर 3, 1,000 कंपनीज चाइना में मैन्युफैक्चरिंग छोड़कर इंडिया में मूव करने की बात करें। इनमें से 300 कंपनी ने पेपर पर कमिट भी किया। और ये कहाँ मैन्युफैक्चर करेंगे? मुंबई, दिल्ली, बैंगलोर जैसे बड़े शहरों में नहीं, छोटे शहरों, इंटीरियर्स।
Luxembourg is a country in Europe. India has reserved land twice the size of Luxembourg for industries that want to move out of China and settle in India.
ये सुनने में इम्पॉसिबल लगता है, लेकिन सच। लेकिन ये सारी न्यूज़ आप तक नहीं पहुंचेगी क्योंकि ये नेगेटिव नहीं है, और जो चीजें नेगेटिव नहीं होती वो यहाँ पर वायरल कहाँ होती? Because to believe that there is something positive happening around us needs patience. India has a long way to go and we cannot boycott China in one day. It is a fact.
It's a fact that we don't have electricity, infrastructure, and even skilled labor. But it's also a fact that we have a lot of untapped potential.
मैन्युफैक्चरिंग चाइना से शिफ्ट होने वाला है। ये वियतनाम, कोरिया और बांग्लादेश के लोगों को पता है। They are going to use this opportunity. और अगर इंडिया ने अपने नेगेटिव्स पर काम नहीं किया, तो इंडिया एक बड़ा चांस खो देगी। In 2014, we had 2 mobile manufacturing units in India. Right now, we have 268 factories, including Samsung's biggest mobile factory in the world.
It's a fact that Donald Trump wants India to be part of Group of 7, just now we hold tip-top countries. He wants to invite India, Australia, and Russia, but not China.
The whole point of this video is to show you कि छत्तीसगढ़ के आदिवासियों से लेकर इंडस्ट्रीज, गवर्नमेंट और फॉरेन कंट्रीज ये रियलाइज कर चुकी है कि आने वाले 10 सालों में इंडिया चाइना का अल्टरनेटिव हो सकता है। You see, the only people who don't find it practical are common people, हम जैसे लोग। Great historical progress always happens after major disasters. ये मैं नहीं कहता, खुद शी जिनपिंग कहते हैं। शायद हमें उनकी ये बात सुननी चाहिए।
History is proof that whenever a country hits rock bottom, it is the people who bring it back to life.
जर्मनी ने वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 के बाद क्या किया? जापान क्यों सक्सेसफुल? सिंगापुर से इंडिया क्या सीख सकता है? आने वाले दिनों में हम ऐसे एक्शनेबल पॉइंट्स आपको बताने वाले हैं। इस वीडियो के बाद अगर आप में से कोई एक भी मुझसे ये पूछेगा कि हम क्या कर सकते हैं, तो आई थिंक ये वीडियो सक्सेसफुल। शायद यही सवाल सोनम सर ने पूछा होगा, इसीलिए उनको लगा कि हम चाइनीज सॉफ्टवेयर डिलीट कर सकते। शायद यही सवाल भूगोल बंद ने पूछा, इसीलिए उसको लगा कि हम गरीबों की मदद कर सकते। शायद यही सवाल सोनू सूद सर ने पूछा, इसीलिए उनको लगा कि हम 18,000 माइग्रेंट्स को उनके घर तक पहुंचा सकते। ये सारी चीजें एक कॉमन मैन के लिए इम्पॉसिबल ही लगती है, लेकिन सच फैक्ट्स है, हो चुकी, क्योंकि इनके लिए नेसेसिटी प्रैक्टिकलिटी से ऊपर। क्योंकि जब आप खुद से पूछते हैं कि हम क्या कर सकते हैं, तभी आप समझते हैं कि आप क्या क्या कर सकते हैं।
I'm concluding my session. So you have to find out what we can do for the development of patient-friendly dosage form as a pharmacist. So with this notation, I am ending my session. So again, I am thankful to Hardik, Principal Ma'am Dr. Tejalar Gandhi, and organizing committee member for giving me the opportunity to deliver the session in EFDP. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for such a wonderful session and beautiful examples and how design thinking can be incorporated into patient-related formulation as well as patient-centric formulations. We have certain questions from our participants. One of the question is, In QBD DOE, at which time we can use BBD and CCD designs?
Generally, box Venkan and CCD design, it is used for optimization purpose. And generally that is useful for when there is a non-linearity in a response. Based on preliminary trials, based on preliminary study, we come to know whether the responses are non-linear in nature. So in that circumstances, we can go with the box Venkan and CCD design. One of the important part of CCD design, here factorial points are considered, but in case of box Venkan, we are not considering the factorial points. So if you see the precision of a design, CCD is a more preferable than box Venkan design. So
thank you, ma'am, for responding to the query. We have one more question. For DOE, two software are available, Minitab and Design Expert. Which one is more preferred?
Both are having its own advantage and disadvantage. But as per my concern, Design Expert is much more user-friendly as compared to Minitab. But it depends upon perception of the person. So there is no any thumb rule or guideline.
Okay, thank you. One more question. What is the importance of feedback in development of patient-centric formulation?
I told you the feedback of the patient is very, very important. I'm giving you one example. That is a GlaxoSmithKline company. They are making anti-HIV molecules. So they believe that the HIV patient will prefer that they should go for the implant type of drug delivery system. Okay, so they did the survey and they discussed with the patient what you will prefer, because it is a chronic disease. Person has to take the medicine regularly. So there are two options are available. They ask that either you should go for a once in a week formulation or once in a year. And they come with that perception, they come with that belief, definitely they will ask for the once in year. But when they did this such kind of review or study or they discussed, they came with that they want only the once in a week. They don't want to go for the once in a year type of implant based formulation, because in implant based formulation they require surgery. They give preference to the oral based and once in a formulation. So your success of your product launching, it is not only depend upon your design and all this thing, but it is also depend upon the preference of your patient. So these things you are done at the development stage or at the prototype phase. What happened? The things become easy. Otherwise, what happened, once you prepare a product and then you will ask to the patient, so they will not accept your product. So patient feedback, it is very, very important each and every stage. There are so many things, that marketing, how you are presenting product, that is also important. So there are a lot of the things we can discuss, but this is the era of that is patient-centric dosage form, because even US FDA proposed the guideline. You should consider the patient focus when you develop a dosage form. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for responding to the query. We have one last question. Can we use mutual prodrug as dosage form friendly to elderly patients?
Which dosage form?
Mutual prodrugs.
Yes, that we can use, because mutual product, that means you can go with multiple drugs or that, so that could be used. That could be used. But again, it's depend upon in which context we wanted to use. What will be the disease condition? What is the age? What is the preference? What is the region? So it could be possible.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for delivering such an informative session. It was wonderful to hear from you. With this, we conclude our session. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. And tomorrow we are having the last day of our FDP. I request all the participants to please be present on our required time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Also,